So I'm not gonna lie, our summer reading has been kind of off to a bumpy start, but thank goodness for audiobooks. They have saved the day. If you're new here, I'm Rian, a Christ-following wife and a homeschool mom to 3 boys. Here we talk all things homeschool, and we will learn together how to use our roles as wife, mom, teacher, and homemaker in order to glorify God. So there has been a lot of busyness in our house this past month, and we have been house hunting. We have been going to lots of baby appointments. We have been prepping for my sister's wedding. And so there's been very little time to relax and read, which is kind of my favorite part of summer. So that's been kind of a bummer. However, audiobooks have saved the day because we don't have to totally skip out on reading as a whole. So you're gonna hear about a lot of audiobooks that we've read this month, specifically me and for our Read-Alouds. My kiddos kind of had still had that time to sit down and actually read a book. But as far as my personal reading and as far as our Read-Alouds, that's sort of what we've been relying on lately. So here is what we read or have been reading and are in the middle of. And I will start off with the Read-Alouds. So as I told you last month, my sons have been listening to the Beverly Cleary collection on audio right before they go to bed. And they made it through Emily and her Emily's Runaway Imagination, I think is what it's called. And they both gave that 4 stars. This is actually a reread for my oldest son because that was one of his books that he had to read for Sunlight this year, but he didn't mind rereading it. And it's all about how Emily's imagination runs away from her. And so I think they're trying to build a library for the town. And my younger son, my middle son, he was like, it was a mystery. And I was like, it's a mystery, really? Yeah, like one time they saw a ghost, but really it was just their dad in white pajamas. I'm like, okay. So they did like it. They gave it 4 stars. Then the next book in the collection that they finished was Mitch and Amy, which I'd actually never heard about this one, but apparently they're twins and they kind of get picked on by a bully, but the bully kind of gets put in his place. And they thought it was pretty funny at some points, and so they gave that 5 stars. And then they are currently listening to Socks by Beverly Cleary. Of course, all about Socks the cat. And then I think we were almost done with this last time I talked to you, but this is what we finished the very beginning of the month, Goonie Bird Green. I thought this was a super sweet and short story. Like I said, little tiny read. Goonie Bird is a very fun and creative character. She's very frivolous, uses a lot of plays on words, which I kind of think are funny, and my boys liked it too. And then we've also started with our Sunlight, the George Mueller biography. And so The Guardian of Bristol's Orphans, we're just barely starting into this, by Janet and Jeff Binge. It's one of the Christian Heroes Then and Now stories. And we are getting ready to start for Sunlight. Next day that we do school, we'll be starting Understood Betsy by Dorothy Canfield Fisher. So I wasn't really familiar with this book. It is about a girl who leaves her prim and proper city life to go live on a farm, and from what I can tell, I don't think she really knows what she thinks about it at first, but kind of warms up to it. So I love these kind of books, and I think my kiddos will too. And then as far as the audiobooks that we've been listening to together, since I haven't had time to do much fun reading outside of our Sunlight, we have been listening to The Green Ember by S.D. Smith. And this is a series I think I mentioned in my summer reading video that we started a long time ago, but didn't really get into it as we were doing the ebook, and it just wasn't flowing for us. And so we got the audiobook and we've been listening in the car. It seems that it has caught everyone's attention a lot better this time around. So it's very adventuresome and full of, right and wrong. So all the things that I think young boys really need to be like inspired to think about, how to defend honor and how to fight bravely when the time comes for it, how to stand your ground when you need to, all of those things. So my 4th grader, we came to a compromise on the Wings of Fire books. I am letting him finish off this one, which is number 10 in the series, and it's The Darkness of Dragons. I just feel so bad for him because he loves this series. And when I sat down and had a conversation with him about, my concerns about what comes in these books later down the line, which I did not realize until just recently. He's like, if that's been in there, Mama, I did not realize. If it was in there already, it's gone over his head. But regardless, I think it's just time to say goodbye because they are promoting homosexuality from what I can tell from reviews and stuff. And there's just gonna be stuff in these coming down the pipe that I don't want to be glorified in my children, and so we're just going to put these away, but I decided I will let him finish this one because he was really enjoying it. But we're having a very open and honest dialogue about why he can no longer read them and what to do if something like that comes up in a book. And then for Sunlight, he is currently reading Mustang Wild Spirit of the West by Marguerite Henry, and this is by the same author of Misty of Chincoteague. And he's liking this. I wasn't sure if he would, just because animal books can kind of be hit or miss with him, but he seems to really like it. And then I will be bringing home from the library for him Henry and the Chalk Dragon to read next, which I mentioned in my summer reads video. As for my third grader, or second, almost third grader, he has decided to take on this massive collection, The Complete Tales of Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne, of course. It's a classic. Course, holding his spot with the Pokemon card, you know, the best bookmarks. But this is actually a copy that was at my grandparents' house for a long time, and they let him take it home, and it has awesome drawings in it. He was just kind of needing something to read and saw it on his shelf and decided to give it a whirl, so I let him do it. We did read the first full Winnie the Pooh a couple years ago at home as a read aloud, and they all liked that. And I think having the pictures in there really helps him with his confidence, because I've always thought, man, he's a struggling reader. After this year, I've realized he's not a struggling reader. It's just that his older brother is an advanced reader, and he's actually right on grade level, and he's actually very young for his grade level. So at worst, he's right on where he should be, and he might even be a little above that. It's just I was kind of comparing apples to oranges there, and so he is not a struggling reader. But I do think that having pictures and stuff really encourages him to read more. And then he finished up his last Frog and Toad book with Sunlight. In the second grade level, they give them a lot of Frog and Toad to read, but he finished up Frog and Toad Together by Arnold Lobel, and he gave this 5 stars. He really loved the Dragons and Giants story, which is where they are climbing the mountain, I think, and are fighting off birds and snakes, and are so impressed with how brave they are when really they ran home scared. So he thought that was pretty funny. And then next in Sunlight, he will be reading The Big Balloon Race. Again, these are pretty easy reads for him, but it's building his confidence a lot. And last but not least, what I will have him read independently next is also another one that's pretty easy for him, but the next book I have for him is a little bit more challenging. So I'm going to give him Little Bear's Friend. And of course, this is part of the famous Little Bear series. This was actually mine when I was a little girl, and I loved reading it. I remember reading it even when I was like in 4th grade and thinking like, oh, these stories are so sweet. And so it has those little cute sketches in it. And if he really loves them, I'll keep getting him some more of the Little Bear stories, just because I feel like they're a classic and everyone needs to read them. And then for my 3-year-old, I don't know about you, but preschoolers tend to like hook onto a book, and like that is their book for a very long time, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay, now this is my book. I remember when my oldest was 3 and 4, we read Chicka Chicka Boom Boom every night, multiple times through for, I don't even know how long, a year, 2 years, I don't know. I had that book memorized inside and out, word by word. I could tell you the whole story. And so right now, my 3-year-old's obsession is with dinosaurs, and he loves Dinosaur Rumpus right now. And this is by Tony Minton. It's kind of a newer book, but it's still like kind of that classic level. I like it because the rhyming pattern, it's kind of musical sounding, which it's about dancing and stuff, so that makes sense. But there's a lot of rhyming and a lot of like good cadence to the words, and he really loves reading this one. And then we have waiting for us at the library, Farmer Duck, which I said we were going to read this summer, by Martin Waddell. And he is really into farm animals too right now, so I think he's gonna love that. Now me, what have I been reading? Well, a lot of audiobooks, as I said. I had some plane rides that I was on recently, and we've done a lot of work on our house trying to sell it. And so I've just been doing the whole one AirPod in the ear, getting busy kind of thing. And so I've listened to 2 mysteries lately, and they are When They Find Her and what was the other one? Local Woman Missing. I'll put pictures of them up here. I don't remember who wrote them. They both were very good stories, very intriguing. Like I had to listen to all of it to know who did what and what happened and why and all of these things. They were not super clean, but they weren't like terribly vulgar. I don't know. I mean, I know everyone has different convictions about novels and stuff. I mean, they were really enjoyable as a story. So if you check into those, be forewarned, they are not squeaky clean, but they're not like the worst thing that could be in that genre. So I don't know. Check it out if you want to look into those before you read it. I also listened to a lot of podcasts this past month. There's too many to list. I listened to a wide variety of things. I listened to Dateline. I listened to Sheologians. I listened to a lot of theological podcasts and a lot of true crime podcasts and a lot of sermon podcasts. Like, I'm just kind of all over the board. But I did have time to read a chapter in this book. I actually just started it this week, but it's By What Standard? God's World, God's Rules. So there is also a movie by the same name, which I have seen, and it is very good. But this is edited by Jared Longshore, and there's Tom Askell in it, Vadi Bakum, Tom Nettles, you know, a lot of guys who know their stuff. And it is all about what to do with kind of the current agenda that the world has, where society is going, and what God has to say about it, and how all of this is infiltrating in our churches, and how, as the body of Christ, we have to take a stand against this. And, the world takes things and softens them and makes them look pretty. And so if you don't like them, then you're full of hatred and you're bigoted and you're this and you're that. But like in the intro, it says, either God is who he says he is, and that demands something of us, or he's not. And so if you say that God is who he says he is, then there is a standard, hence the name, that we are called to live by and that our churches should hold up to. And so, I don't know, it's going to be a good one. I could tell just by one chapter, I'm like, oh yeah, we're in for a wild ride, but it's going to be good. So this month we may be leaning a lot heavier on audio until we get moved and situated into the new house, but at least we're still reading. And also, the summer's not over. We still got some weeks. It's okay. Like, I'll still get to read on the porch in the sunshine with my drink. It'll happen, right? It'll happen. Okay. So let me know in the comments down below what you're currently reading. And next week, my video on Tuesday is actually going to be a live. I have not been wanting to do these at all, but as you saw last week or the week before, when I got together with all my friends, they kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone and we did a live together, and it was actually really fun. So we're going to do a live chat, and I'm going to just kind of give a life update and maybe answer some of y'all's questions if you have any, and just kind of see where it goes. So please subscribe if you haven't already. I would really appreciate it. And I thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.